Hi, this is Carmen Bonilla. I am a leadership development trainer, and I am filming this video as a public service to share with you information that I was just consuming and some observations based on my background as a business strategy professor in terms of the strategy being played out by the oil and gas industry. Let's take a look. My inspiration is coming from watching this documentary that was just this past week published by a meteorologist in Puerto Rico. And part of the documentary was showing us the great increase of CO2, um, carbon dioxide in our atmosphere. She showed this graph here of the levels of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere over the last 800,000 years. So pretty impressive data that shows, wow, the great increase that we have seen since 1910 and through this last 110 years since then. So this shows us definitely the impact on of the industrial revolution in the increase of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere. And so, coming at this as a business from the perspective of a business professional and instructor, definitely something that I believe, and I would make the argument to all of us business professionals, that definitely something that should catch our eyes. Something else from that documentary that definitely caught my attention is that, well, power generation is definitely one of the sources that we are most concerned about when we talk about climate change, and as an industry being the one industry or one of the two industries that most has had an impact on the increase of these greenhouse gases. Also, the documentary makes a very nice argument and very clear on how we as consumers, as drivers of cars that burn gas and other fossil fuels such as diesel, the contributions that we make. And something that this documentary mentioned was, for every gallon of gas that only weighs around 6 pounds, can you believe 20 pounds of CO2 are produced and released into the atmosphere? And so the estimate is that for any single car, approximately between 4 and 9 tons of CO2 are released into the atmosphere every year. Now, think about it. There are over 1 billion cars driving all over the planet. And so that definitely makes an impact. I tell you, since I watched this documentary, I haven't wanted to pull my car out of the garage. And so if we continue operating at the same levels that we have been, if we continue on the current path, we can expect the following increases in temperature. Between 2025 and 2050, we can expect that temperatures around the globe, they can increase by 1.5 centigrades or 2.7 Fahrenheit, and so on and so forth. By 2050 to 2075, we can expect a 2 centigrade degree increase or 3.6 Fahrenheit degree increase, and so forth. And so now what we have seen in terms of temperature, coming from another video that I watched, this one produced by NBC News, they tell us that basically the temperature anomaly that we have seen in recent years, it has only been of 1.2 percent degrees. And so, and we have already seen so many results of that. I'm going to mention some more about that coming up. We are actually, for example, there is this video by ABC. It shows us in Central America, between Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras. There is this area where you see here the reporter standing. This used to be an area where they were able to farm and to grow corn, which is a staple in the area, etc. Now notice, just in the last 2 years or so, look how this soil is looking. The people who depended on this soil for their farming, they have not been able to farm and to feed their families. And a scientist appears in that video with the reporter and mentions to him their expectation in the scientist community is that this area may become a desert within the next 20 years. And so we have seen it in the US and in other parts of the world in recent years. We have seen the droughts happening. We have seen the wildfires. And so there is further evidence, right, of this climate change that we have been experiencing. Now, this climate change that we have been experiencing, it has been, right, this 1.29 degree increase, this 1.25, this 1.27. And so what we are trying to avoid, we are trying to prevent us getting to the 2-degree increase. And this is the goal of the Paris Climate Accord. A 2-degree increase, it will just be expected to continue making these situations and this phenomena of the weather even worse. Now, thinking about, and here I'm coming from my background as a business professional and an instructor of business strategy, I was able to gather some very interesting and critical stats when it comes to the oil and gas industry in the US. And this other video produced by CNBC, it tells us that the US is the largest producer of oil and gas today, and it has been for most of the past decade. Texas and Pennsylvania still produce the majority of oil and natural gas in the country. And there are about 1.2 million jobs related to this industry in the US. And so, of course, for anybody who is familiar with the dynamics regarding this, there are certainly strong politics around this, but I will keep my conversation here focused on the business aspects. Another video produced by CNBC tells us about the generation of electricity in the US as of 2019, giving us a sense of the breakdown of natural gas generating about 38%, 23% of electricity coming from coal sources, almost 20% coming from nuclear sources, and these are stats for the US, and close to 18% coming from renewable sources. And so we have, according to a survey conducted in 2020 and reported in this video by CNBC, consumers, American consumers, are indicating significant concern about climate change. And 60% of American consumers, according to this survey, indicated that they believe climate change is a major threat. And 27% indicating that it was a minor threat, but still a threat, with only 12% indicating no threat, and a very small amount or number don't know. And 65% of American consumers in that same survey in 2020 said that the government is doing too little to reduce climate change. So here we see, very interestingly, the opinions of American consumers. And when we consider business strategy, we would definitely expect oil and gas companies to really take to heart the input from consumers, because in business strategy we have seen, right, many companies have failed after making major mistakes in not listening close enough to their consumers and to the changing consumer trends. Now, on the other hand, this video by CNBC performed a study and reviewed documents by the major oil and gas companies on the planet, and here highlights in yellow the two largest American oil and gas companies, and highlights here the very small percentage of capital expenditures being made in low carbon energies. So very interesting. We don't see here what is the actual dollar amount of what were these capital expenditures, but it would lead us to question, right? How much of an investment are these American oil and gas companies making in low carbon energies, and really moving forward and away from the old fossil fuel energy sources. And so something very interesting also highlighted in this CNBC video is that it mentions to us, this article written by Forbes back in 2018, mentioning to us that Google and Apple had become, as of 2018, the first two corporations completely sourcing renewable energy to support their operations. And we see in the graph, the graph detail on the right, that the sources of energy are solar and wind. And so for sure, very strong message, really walking the talk, Google and Apple here. And so it's been my pleasure to present this to you. This is Carmen Bonilla. I am an experienced trainer and consultant. I specialize in the areas of leadership development and consulting to growing organizations. I have taught topics of building high-performing teams, managing workplace change, coaching skills for managers, holding staff accountable, performance management conversations, and others. This topic here of this video today, it's a topic very close and dear to my heart. So if you have a need for a trainer and consultant for your team, please do not hesitate and get in touch through the email and phone number that I am sharing on this screen. Finally, these are the sources that I referenced throughout this video. Thank you so much for watching.